STS-1, the first Space Shuttle mission, launched in April of 1981. It wasn't until Columbia launched for STS-3 on March 22, 1982, that Americans would return aboard the US spacecraft to International Skylab.
T-minus 15, 14, 13, 12, 10. We are go for main engine ignition. 8, 7, 6. We have main engine ignition. Seconds, looks good. Roger, sounds good. 26 seconds, roll maneuver complete. 30 seconds, 1 nautical mile in altitude, throttling engines down now up to 68% as programmed. 38 seconds, flopboard status looks good, mission control. 42 seconds, Columbia now 3 nautical miles in altitude. 46 seconds, coming up now and create a maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. 55 seconds, past crew max Q, still looking good. Throttling engines back to 100%. Give it a go at throttle up. Columbia, Houston, you're go at throttle up. Mark 1 minute 10 seconds. Columbia now 7 nautical miles in altitude, 4 nautical miles downrange. Velocity now reading 2,700 feet per second. Roger, 460. Okay, there's 103. 2 minutes 15 seconds. Confirm solid rocket booster separation.
Roger, Columbia. We confirm guidance converged.
2 minutes 23 seconds. Onboard guidance is converging as programmed. Columbia is now steering for a precise window in space for main engine cutoff.
Bringing along with it a docking adapter designed for the second port on Skylab, Columbia docked to IS 2 days after launch. It stayed in orbit with the station for more than 8 days and replaced 2 American crew members who had come aboard on a TKS. During the mission, astronauts conducted the first EVA from the space shuttle and inspected the outside of the station. Columbia returned and landed at White Sands Lake Bed in New Mexico due to flooding at Edwards Air Force Base.
$30,000 feet, 13 miles range. Columbia now in auto land.
Pre-flare, Houston.
Roger. 1,000 feet. Airspeed 292. Still in auto.
50 feet, gear coming.
Comes the gear.
Gear down, 20. 10, 5, 4, touchdown. Nose gears, 10. Nose gears, 5, 4, 3, 3. Touchdown. 10's in the way, amigos. Convoy 1, Columbia, read your line clear, how many? Welcome home. KSI square 2.
Following this successful mission, IS would be the target for many space shuttle missions afterwards. The second shuttle flight to the station, STS-5, brought a new addition, a Spacelab module designed by the European Space Agency. The laboratory comprised multiple components, including a pressurized module, an unpressurized carrier, and other related hardware, and was able to be housed inside the shuttle's cargo bay. A special Spacelab was designed to be fitted to a port on the Roche. Spacelab supported multiple experiments in the fields of space plasma physics, solar physics, atmosphere physics, astronomy, and Earth observation. To mate with the station, the shuttle moved close to the lateral port on the Roche and used the Canadarm to position the module into place. After securing the module, the shuttle then docked with the docking adapter on the Skylab. 10 days later, the shuttle undocked and returned back to Cape Canaveral. Originally designed to compete with the US Space Shuttle, the Soviet Space Shuttle, the first one named Buran, was designed for joint US-Soviet space operations on International Skylab. Very similar to the Space Shuttle, the construction of the Buran-class Space Shuttle orbiters began in 1980, and by 1984 the first full-scale orbiter was rolled out. Construction of a second orbiter, informally known as Pachika, started in 1988. Two major things made the Buran different from the Space Shuttle. First, the booster that sent it into orbit was fundamentally different than the shuttle's external tank, its two solid rocket booster configuration. The Buran was lifted by the Energia rocket. The Energia used 4 strap-on boosters, each powered by a 4-chamber RD-170 engine, burning kerosene and liquid oxygen, and a central core stage with 4 1-chamber RD-120 engines fueled by liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. The Energia rocket had a capacity of about 100 tons to low Earth orbit, and up to 20 tons to geostationary, and 32 tons via translunar trajectory into lunar orbit. It was quite the launch system. The second difference was that the Buran was going to have jet engines to allow it to power itself during flight. However, by the first mission, the jet engines weren't ready, and so Buran launched without it. The Buran launched on the 10-year anniversary of the IS Salyut Skylab docking in October 1985 from Baikonur Cosmodrome. Buran was lifted into space with 2 cosmonauts on board by the specially designed Energia rocket. It lifted the vehicle into a temporary orbit before the orbiter separated as programmed. The Buran then used its ODU engines to put it into a rendezvous orbit with the IS. In the Buran's cargo bay was a specifically designed docking adapter, which allowed it to dock to the bottom port of the Rosh. After 14 days in orbit, the Buran undocked and fired its ODU engines to begin descent into the atmosphere, and returned to the launch site, landing horizontally on the runway. In February 1985, an ambitious joint shuttle mission began. First, the US Space Shuttle, loaded with a second Spacelab module, launched from Cape Canaveral. Eight hours later, it docked with the shuttle docking mechanism on the Skylab module. The next day, the Buran lifted from Baikonur, meeting the station 12 hours later and docking with the docking adapter on the Rosh. The mission marked the first time two shuttles would be in orbit at the same time, as well as the first time both would be docked at the station simultaneously. After 10 years in orbit, NASA and Soviet administrators discussed the future of IS. The Soviets were planning a new station, Mir, which would use a multi-port node to attach several modules based on a TKS design. A new treaty would mark the next phase of IS, and a new round of building the station. At the same time, China was also rapidly developing its space station, the Tiangong, and negotiations began to allow a new entrant into the building of International Skylab.